Dick LeBeau, our guest, defensive coordinator of the Cincinnati Bengals. 23 after the hour, 749-3420 to join us on Sports Talk. And it's now your turn. Good evening.
Good evening. I don't have a question, but I do have a comment about Dick LeBeau. Beyond a doubt, he's got to be the best defensive back in his era.
Well, thanks, Dad, for calling in. I appreciate you.
I'm really serious about this. I'm from Detroit area, and we moved to Indiana recently, but I've always followed, we had a group that used to go to all the Detroit games, and there's one play that stands out in my mind, and I'm just wondering if Dick remembers it, is when they played Cleveland, and the famous Jim Brown used to make the end runs, and Dick LeBeau hit him so hard, he stood for I'd say about 40 seconds shaking his head. After he got up, he gets up slow anyway.
Well, I tell you, it's very kind of you to call, particularly with those comments. First of all, I'm always impressed with anyone who even remembers that I played. But it's very kind of you to call with that sentiment. I'm serious.
Wait a minute. I retired in 77. What was your last year?
I quit in 72. 1972. You remember how we dominated you, Bob.
Oh, yes, I certainly do remember it.
Fortunately, I still get a kid, Kenny Anderson, a little bit, too, because we played the Bengals every year, at least in preseason, sometimes in regular season. But I remember that play in particular. I think the only thing you've got switched around a little bit, do you remember, you're sure it wasn't me that was shaking his head after hitting Jimmy Brown?
No?
Well, I tell you what, we always did well against Jim Brown. The secret to that was to get ahead of him.
Yeah, well, you got him behind the line of scrimmage just before he made the turn, and you took his legs out from under him, and it hurt him. You could tell that it hurt him bad, and when he did get up, he just stood there and looked at you and shook his head with his hands on his hips. I'll never forget that play.
Well, thank you very much. Jim and I, of course, I was drafted by Cleveland, and I used to get up in their scrimmages up there, and I thought probably the best way I could make the football team was to hit Jimmy Brown every time I had a chance. And he used to have some words for me, and they weren't very complimentary, but I tried to get after him every chance I could.
It seems like he was saying something to you, but of course we didn't know.
Yeah, we were old
was.
friends. We were old friends.
Talking about where they'd have dinner that night after the game. You know, things of that nature.
I doubt that.
Jim Brown was probably the best running back that ever played football, at least for my money. And if he would be 21, he would dominate the league again. He had great power and speed, and any shot that I gave him, I'm sure that he just shrugged off and went back here. And I might have got lucky and got one in there on him. But I'm sure that Jim Brown didn't worry about running against Dick LeBeau, although our defense did. I don't know that he ever got 100 yards against us. I really don't.
Ooh.
No, I agree.
That's impressive.
Yeah, I don't think he did.
Especially when you consider that he averaged 105 yards for his career.
That's right.
That's a very impressive stat.
We had good luck against Cleveland. We would beat them.